Have you ever felt like your mind is trapped in a storm, spinning endlessly with thoughts you cannot control? Like every decision you make carries a weight heavier than it should, and every moment feels clouded by doubt, fear, or confusion. That storm isn't outside of you, it's inside. It lives in the constant chatter of your mind, in the endless questions, the what-ifs, the comparisons, the self-criticisms that drain your energy and leave you paralyzed. And yet, imagine for a moment what it would feel like to step out of that storm. Imagine the calm that comes when your thoughts are sharp, precise, and aligned with your deepest goals. Imagine waking up each day with clarity, knowing exactly what matters, knowing exactly what you must do, and feeling the confidence to act without hesitation. That clarity isn't a dream reserved for a few lucky people. It's a skill, a way of living, a choice that anyone can cultivate. Your mind is the lens through which you experience your life, and when that lens is fogged, the world itself feels distorted. Simple decisions feel monumental, challenges seem insurmountable, and opportunities pass by unnoticed because your attention is scattered. But when your mind is clear, reality sharpens, problems shrink, and opportunities become visible. Every interaction, every choice, every moment becomes infused with purpose. You stop drifting, and you start steering. You stop reacting, and you start creating. You stop waiting for life to make sense, and begin making sense of life yourself. The difference between success and frustration, between progress and stagnation, is often not circumstance, talent, or luck. It is clarity. Clear thinking allows you to see the path that others miss. It gives you the courage to act when doubt whispers wait. It gives you the confidence to trust yourself when the world seems uncertain. It turns hesitation into momentum, fear into fuel, and confusion into strategy. And the best part is, every small step toward clarity compounds. Every thought you sharpen, every distraction you release, every belief you examine, strengthens your mind, making it a tool that works for you instead of against you. By staying with this journey, you are giving yourself the gift of seeing life differently. You are choosing to leave the fog behind, to lift the weight of indecision, and to step into a version of yourself capable of more than you ever imagined. You will learn to recognize mental clutter before it hijacks your day. You will discover the habits that keep your mind strong, resilient, and focused. And most importantly, you will feel the unmistakable power of a mind that is yours to command, free, clear, and unstoppable. Today, you take the first step, not because it will be easy, but because it will change everything. Today, you commit to seeing, thinking, and acting with precision. Today you realize that the greatest battles you face are not outside, but within. And winning them begins with one simple truth. Clarity is power, and it is waiting for you. Your mind, once clouded, can become the most reliable ally you have. Every moment spent here is a moment investing in that freedom, that strength, that unstoppable clarity. And by the time this journey ends, you will not only understand the art of thinking clearly, you will be living it. Clarity begins with awareness, and awareness begins by noticing the noise that fills your mind. That noise is subtle, yet it is everywhere. It shows up in the endless replay of past mistakes, in the anxious rehearsals of what might go wrong, in the constant comparisons to what others are doing, achieving, or becoming. It whispers doubts that aren't your own, echoes voices from the past that no longer deserve space in your present, and spins scenarios that keep you trapped in hesitation. Left unchecked, that noise becomes the default soundtrack of your life, drowning out your true thoughts, your true desires, your true potential. You cannot think clearly when the volume of that noise is turned up too high. And yet, most people live unaware of it. They wake up already tangled in thought loops they didn't choose, scrolling through distractions before the day has even begun, letting external voices dictate their focus and emotions. They wonder why they feel restless, why decisions exhaust them, why opportunities slip through their fingers. It is because their attention, the most precious resource they own, has been stolen by mental clutter. But awareness changes everything. The moment you pause and notice the chaos, the moment you step back and ask, is this thought helping me or hurting me? You begin to reclaim control. That single act of noticing transforms you from being a prisoner of your thoughts into the observer of them. And the observer holds power, because the observer can choose. You can choose which thoughts to nurture and which to release. You can choose where your attention goes, and in doing so, you choose where your life goes. This is not about silencing the mind completely. The mind will always produce thoughts, just as the heart produces beats. It's about refusing to be ruled by the loudest voice in your head. It is about separating the noise from the signal, the distraction from the truth, the illusion from reality. Once you recognize the noise for what it is, temporary, repetitive, often meaningless, you stop identifying with it, you stop mistaking it for who you are, you stop allowing it to dictate the direction of your life. Think about the relief that comes when you let go of a thought that has been weighing on you for years, the instant lightness, the sudden peace. That relief is not rare. It is available every single time you catch the noise and refuse to give it power. Each time you do, the mind grows clearer. Each time you do, decisions feel lighter. Each time you do, you step closer to living with focus and purpose. You are not your doubts. You are not your fears. You are not the endless chatter that tells you what you can't do or who you can't be. You are the one who hears those voices, and that means you are the one who can rise above them. And when you begin to rise, when you begin to filter out the noise and hold on to only what matters, the fog that once blinded you begins to lift. You start to see possibilities where before you saw only problems. You start to notice opportunities where before there was only distraction. You start to hear the voice of your true self, clear, strong, and steady, guiding you toward the life you were always meant to create. The noise is not permanent. The fog is not your fate. Every moment of awareness is a chance to step closer to clarity, to reclaim your mind and to take back the power that has always been yours. And when you do, you no longer live at the mercy of thoughts. You live with the freedom of choice, the strength of focus, and the unstoppable momentum of a clear mind. Once the noise begins to fade, something else becomes visible, the way you make choices. Every moment of your life is shaped by decisions, both small and large. Yet most people do not truly decide. They react. They let impulses guide them. They let fear push them. They let comfort pull them back. They mistake hesitation for thoughtfulness, and impulse for courage. But true clarity in thinking reveals a different path. It reveals that every decision is a mirror of your state of mind, and when the mind is clear, choices become powerful, deliberate, and aligned with the life you want to create. Human beings are wired with shortcuts, biases that once helped us survive, but now often hold us back. We overvalue what is immediate and undervalue what is lasting. We cling to the familiar, even when it limits us, because uncertainty feels threatening. We avoid short-term discomfort, even when it robs us of long-term fulfillment. These patterns run deep, but they are not destiny. They are only habits of thought, and habits of thought can be broken, reshaped, rebuilt. Think of how many times you've doubted yourself when the right choice was already clear. The opportunity was there, the desire was strong, but hesitation took over. Why? Because the fog of unclear thinking distorted the picture. The fear of what could go wrong grew larger than the vision of what could go right. The weight of possible failure overshadowed the reward of possible success. That is not reality. It is the distortion of a mind clouded by bias, fear, and habit. Clarity cuts through that distortion. It allows you to pause, to breathe, and to see choices for what they truly are, not monsters to be feared, but doors waiting to be opened. With a clear mind, you stop asking, "What if I fail?" and begin asking, "What if I never try?" You stop worrying about all the things that could go wrong and start focusing on the single step that can move you forward. Decision-making becomes less about perfection and more about progress, less about fear and more about alignment, less about pleasing everyone else and more about living in truth with yourself. The science is clear. People who simplify their choices, who create clarity before they act, experience less stress, less regret, and more fulfillment. They do not waste energy second-guessing or spiraling into doubt. They act, and because their actions come from clarity, they build momentum. They begin to trust themselves, and with each decision made from clarity, confidence grows stronger. Confidence is not something you wait to feel before making a choice. Confidence is the byproduct of choosing with clarity again and again, until it becomes second nature. The decisions that shape your life are not in the future. They are here, now, in every moment. To think clearly is to reclaim the power of those moments. To think clearly is to refuse to let fear, doubt, or confusion write your story for you. The pen is in your hand, and the ink is your choices. When your thinking is clear, you write with intention, not hesitation. You write with conviction, not uncertainty. You write a life that is yours, not one dictated by noise, bias, or fear. This is why clarity is not a luxury. It is survival of the truest kind. Not survival of the body, but survival of the spirit. Without it, you drift, pulled by whatever current is strongest. With it, you steer, guided by a compass that never fails. Every choice becomes an act of creation. Every step becomes a declaration. Every decision becomes proof that you are awake, aware, and determined to live with purpose. And when you learn to choose with clarity, you stop being a prisoner of chance and begin to live as the author of your destiny. Every decision you make is shaped not only by what you see, but by what you believe. And many of those beliefs are invisible, woven so deeply into your mind that you mistake them for truth. They tell you who you are, what you are capable of, what you deserve, and what you should fear. But not all beliefs are built on truth. Many are echoes of the past, inherited from other people's fears, other people's limits, other people's stories. They live in the background of your thoughts, quietly shaping your choices, quietly narrowing your vision. And until you confront them, they will continue to pull you back each time you try to rise. A belief is powerful because it feels permanent. It feels like reality. If you believe you are not smart enough, strong enough, or worthy enough, your mind will gather evidence to prove it. Every mistake becomes a confirmation. Every setback becomes a warning. Every success is dismissed as luck. That is the trap of limiting beliefs. They distort reality until you cannot see beyond them. But here is the truth. Beliefs are not walls. They are only mirrors. They reflect what you have accepted, not what you truly are. The mind can be trained to break these illusions. Neuroscience proves that thought patterns are malleable. The brain rewires itself with repetition, with practice, with conscious choice. This means no belief is final. No inner story is fixed. What you tell yourself today is only a habit of thought, and habits can change. The moment you challenge a limiting belief, the moment you ask, is this really true? You begin to crack the illusion. You begin to see that the boundaries were never real. They were only painted lines, dissolving the instant you step across them. Imagine the freedom of letting go of one belief that has held you down for years. The weight that disappears. The strength that rushes in to fill the space. That is the power of release. And when you release one, you begin to see how many more were never real to begin with. You begin to uncover a version of yourself that is limitless, a self that existed all along, hidden beneath the rubble of old conditioning. It takes courage to confront these beliefs, because they disguise themselves as safety. They whisper, "Stay where you are, it's safer here. Don't risk, don't stretch, don't try." But safety built on illusion is not safety at all. It is a cage, and a cage, no matter how comfortable, is still a prison. To think clearly, you must be willing to walk out of that cage. You must be willing to face the discomfort of growth, the uncertainty of change, the unknown path ahead. Because beyond that discomfort lies truth, and truth is freedom. When you let go of limiting beliefs, you reclaim choice. You are no longer driven by fear disguised as logic. You no longer mistake old voices for your own. You no longer shrink yourself to fit into stories that were never written for you. You begin to think clearly, not through the lens of doubt, but through the lens of possibility. And with that shift, every thought becomes lighter, every decision becomes clearer, every step becomes bolder, because you finally see yourself not as limited, but as capable, resilient, and free. The old beliefs dissolve, the fog lifts, and the path ahead opens wider than you ever imagined. This is the beginning of living as you truly are, not as your doubts once told you to be. Freedom from false beliefs creates space, but it is focus that fills that space with power. A scattered mind cannot build, cannot sustain, cannot create momentum. Energy divided 1,000 ways loses its strength, but energy aimed in one direction becomes unstoppable. Focus is the discipline of saying yes to what matters and no to everything else. It is the ability to guard your attention as the most valuable currency you possess, because wherever your focus goes, your life follows. The world is full of noise, distractions designed to pull your mind in every direction. Every message, every notification, every demand fights for a piece of your attention. And each time you surrender, you lose clarity. You trade depth for fragments, meaning for stimulation, progress for motion without direction. This is why so many people feel busy but empty, exhausted but unfulfilled. They are spending their attention but not investing it. They are scattering their energy but not building anything that lasts. Focus is the antidote. Focus is what takes scattered thoughts and forges them into intention. It is not about doing more. It is about doing what matters. It is not about thinking harder. It is about thinking with precision. When you train your mind to focus, you begin to notice the difference between urgency and importance. You stop chasing what screams for your attention and start committing to what deserves your attention. Psychology calls this selective attention, the ability to tune out noise and concentrate on the signal, and the brain grows stronger at whatever it practices. Each time you choose to direct your focus deliberately, you are rewiring your mind to resist distraction. Each time you silence the pull of the trivial, you are strengthening the muscle of clarity. This discipline compounds. What feels difficult at first becomes natural, and what was once impossible becomes effortless. Think of the power in a single decision made with full focus. No second guessing, no hesitation, no divided attention. Just clarity, energy, and action. That decision carries more force than 100 choices made in distraction. And when you live with that kind of focus, you no longer drift aimlessly. You create direction, you carve a path, you transform effort into progress, and progress into transformation. The truth is, most people fail, not because they are incapable, but because they are unfocused. They chase too many things, hold too many thoughts, carry too many distractions. They dilute their energy until nothing gets the force it needs to break through. But when you focus, you concentrate your power. You bring all of yourself to this moment, to this choice, to this task. And that is how breakthroughs are born, not from scattered effort, but from deliberate, focused intensity. You already have the power to focus. It is not something you must wait to develop. It is a choice you make now. You can decide what deserves your attention and what does not. You can train your mind to stay where it matters, to hold its ground against distraction, to direct its energy with precision. And as you do, you will feel the shift. Thoughts become sharper, emotions become steadier, actions become stronger. Life stops feeling like a blur and starts feeling like a creation. Focus is clarity in motion. It is the bridge between vision and reality. And when you master it, nothing feels impossible, because all of your power is no longer scattered. It is aligned, directed, and unstoppable. Focus sharpens the mind, but clarity deepens when you learn to see your emotions for what they are. Emotions are not the enemy of clear thinking. They are signals. They are energy moving through the body, carrying messages about what matters, what threatens you, what inspires you. But when you mistake those signals for absolute truth, they distort your vision. Fear makes challenges appear larger than they are. Anger magnifies flaws and blinds you to solutions. Sadness convinces you that nothing will change. Left unchecked, emotions color every thought, bending reality until decisions are no longer made with clarity, but with distortion. To master clear thinking, you must master emotional clarity. This does not mean ignoring your feelings or suppressing them. It means recognizing them, naming them, and choosing how to respond. Research shows that when you put words to emotions, the brain begins to regulate them. Fear becomes less overwhelming. Anger loses its grip. Sadness begins to soften. The storm quiets the moment you acknowledge it. This is the first step of emotional clarity, awareness without judgment. Most people resist their emotions, and resistance creates confusion. They pretend not to feel fear, so fear controls them. They deny anger, so it leaks into their choices. They bury sadness, so it resurfaces in ways they don't expect. But when you face emotions directly, when you allow them to be seen, they lose their power to control you. They become guides instead of masters. They inform your decisions without hijacking them. They reveal what matters most, and that insight becomes fuel for clarity. Imagine standing before a decision while fear rises in you. Without clarity, fear makes the choice for you, but with emotional clarity, you pause, name it, and separate it from reality. You see fear as a signal, not a verdict. You ask, is this fear protecting me, or is it limiting me? That single question shifts the balance of power. Suddenly the decision is not clouded, it is illuminated. You see the difference between a real threat and a limiting belief, and with that awareness you act from truth, not distortion. The same is true for every emotion. Anger can become the spark for justice instead of destruction. Sadness can become the reminder of what you value most, instead of the weight that keeps you down. Even joy, when understood clearly, becomes more than a fleeting feeling. It becomes a compass pointing toward what gives life meaning. Emotional clarity transforms every state into insight, every feeling into fuel, every storm into direction. This practice requires honesty. It demands the courage to face what is uncomfortable, to admit what you are truly feeling instead of what you wish you felt. But in that honesty lies strength. Because when you can see your emotions clearly, you can see yourself clearly. You no longer confuse passing feelings with permanent truths. You no longer let a momentary storm dictate the course of your life. You remain steady, grounded, and aligned with the bigger picture. Clarity of mind cannot exist without clarity of heart. The two are inseparable, and when both align, when your thoughts and emotions work together instead of against each other, you become unstoppable. Decisions flow with ease. Confidence rises naturally. Challenges shrink in the light of perspective. Life stops feeling like a battle against yourself and starts feeling like a collaboration with yourself. And from that place, every step forward carries not only focus, but peace, strength, and certainty. When your emotions and your mind begin to align, a new energy awakens within you, the energy of curiosity. Curiosity is more than a passing interest. It is the hunger to see beyond what is obvious, to ask questions when others accept easy answers, to explore possibilities where others see only limits. It is the spark that keeps the mind alive, the force that pushes clarity deeper and wider. Without curiosity, thinking becomes rigid, trapped in old patterns and assumptions. With curiosity, thinking becomes expansive, adaptable, and endlessly creative. Curiosity is the antidote to stagnation. The moment you stop questioning, you stop growing. The moment you stop seeking, you stop seeing. But curiosity keeps you open. It keeps you humble enough to admit there is more to learn, brave enough to confront what you do not yet understand, and wise enough to know that clarity is not found in certainty, but in exploration. A clear mind is not one that has all the answers. It is one that never stops asking the right questions. Psychology shows that curiosity engages the brain's reward system. Each time you ask, each time you seek, your brain lights up with energy, driving motivation, sharpening memory, and deepening focus. Curiosity transforms challenges into opportunities, because instead of saying, "This is too hard," you begin asking, "What can I discover here? What can I learn from this?" That shift turns fear into fuel and transforms obstacles into pathways forward. Think of how curiosity dismantles fear. Fear thrives in the unknown, but curiosity turns the unknown into fascination. Where fear says, "Stay away," curiosity asks, "What's behind this door?" Where doubt says, "You can't," curiosity wonders, "What if I can?" This simple reframing changes everything, because a curious mind is not paralyzed by uncertainty, it is energized by it. The fog of confusion becomes the field of exploration, and every step into the unknown becomes a step closer to wisdom. Curiosity also protects you from the danger of assumptions. Assumptions are shortcuts the mind takes to save energy, but they often cloud truth. They make you see only what you expect to see, but curiosity interrupts that cycle. It asks, "Is that really true? Could there be another explanation, another perspective, another way forward?" This is where clarity grows sharpest, when you challenge not just the world around you, but the beliefs inside you. Each question you dare to ask cuts through another layer of illusion, revealing the raw truth beneath. To live with curiosity is to live awake. It is to step into each day with eyes wide open, not just accepting what is, but exploring what could be. It is to refuse the numbness of routine and embrace the adventure of discovery. This is not about being reckless. It is about being engaged. It is about staying alive to the wonder of existence, to the infinite depth of what you do not yet know. The mind that embraces curiosity never settles for fog. It keeps reaching, keeps exploring, keeps uncovering. And in that process, clarity becomes not just a destination, but a way of being. With curiosity as your guide, confusion transforms into discovery, fear transforms into growth, and every single moment becomes an invitation to see more clearly, to live more deeply, and to step more boldly into the life waiting for you. Curiosity opens the door, but what you discover on the other side often challenges what you thought was true. This is where clarity demands courage, the courage to question your assumptions. Assumptions are invisible chains. They shape how you see the world, how you judge yourself, how you decide what is possible. They are the quiet rules you follow without realizing, the silent limits you accept without proof. They tell you what you can and cannot do, what you should and should not want, who you are allowed to become. But assumptions are not truth. They are shortcuts, habits of thought, echoes of voices that may not deserve your trust. And unless you challenge them, they keep you locked in a smaller version of yourself. A clear mind refuses to take anything for granted. It looks at every belief and asks, is this real? Or is this something I have only assumed to be true? This simple act of questioning is one of the most powerful forces of transformation. Because the moment you realize an assumption is false, the moment you see that the wall you thought was solid is only a shadow, you break free. The limits dissolve, the horizon expands, and you begin to see not just the world differently, but yourself differently. Psychology shows us how deeply assumptions guide behavior. We tend to interpret new information in ways that confirm what we already believe. This is called confirmation bias, and it keeps us blind. It makes us seek comfort instead of truth. But when you challenge your assumptions, you disrupt that cycle. You open the door to new evidence, new perspectives, new possibilities. You stop filtering life through the lens of your fears and begin to see it through the lens of reality. Challenging assumptions is not easy. It feels uncomfortable because assumptions give a false sense of certainty. They create the illusion of safety, even when that safety is built on lies. But clarity is not about comfort, it is about truth, and truth is worth the discomfort it demands. Each assumption you question is a step toward freedom. Each false limit you break is a step toward power. Each illusion you dissolve is a step toward clarity. Imagine the weight lifted when you stop assuming you are not good enough, not ready enough, not worthy enough. Imagine the energy unleashed when you stop assuming the obstacles ahead are bigger than your ability to overcome them. Imagine the freedom gained when you stop assuming the world has already decided your place. These are not truths, they are assumptions, and the moment you expose them, they lose their grip. The most powerful minds are not those who know the most, but those who dare to question the most. They refuse to bow to tradition, to fear, to the easy comfort of this is how it's always been. They seek clarity not by collecting answers, but by daring to challenge the questions themselves. And when you live this way, you begin to build a mind that is unshakable, a mind that does not blindly follow, a mind that sees with its own eyes, thinks with its own strength, and chooses with its own will. To think clearly is to be brave enough to dismantle the illusions that keep you small. It is to demand truth over comfort, growth over safety, reality over assumption. And when you live with that courage, nothing can confine you. You step beyond the cage of unchallenged beliefs and into the limitless space of possibility, where your true potential can finally be seen. When you strip away assumptions, the mind hungers for something deeper, stillness. Clarity does not thrive in constant motion. It cannot breathe when drowned in endless noise, distraction, and urgency. Just as muddy water settles when left untouched, the mind clears when given space. Yet most people fear stillness. They fill every silence with sound, every pause with activity, every empty moment with distraction. They mistake busyness for progress, when in truth, busyness is often the enemy of clarity. Stillness is not the absence of thought. It is the space where true thought can emerge. It is the pause between reactions, the breath between decisions, the quiet that allows insight to rise. Neuroscience reveals that in moments of rest, the brain does not shut down. It reorganizes, processes, and connects. Solutions you could not force through effort appear in silence. Ideas take shape. Patterns become visible. What felt impossible suddenly feels simple. Stillness is not wasted time. It is the birthplace of wisdom. The challenge is learning to welcome it. Stillness confronts you with yourself. Without the constant hum of distraction, you hear the thoughts you've ignored, the emotions you've buried, the truths you've avoided. That confrontation feels uncomfortable at first, but it is the discomfort of growth. It is the mind shedding its illusions. It is the soul asking to be heard. And when you allow it, when you sit with it, you discover that clarity was never gone. It was only hidden beneath the noise. A clear mind is not frantic. It is not rushed. It is steady, grounded, calm. From that calmness, strength flows. Decisions made in stillness carry a different weight. They are not reactions born from panic, but choices born from truth. They do not drain your energy. They restore it. They do not scatter your focus. They sharpen it. Stillness is the discipline that transforms confusion into vision, chaos into order, noise into meaning. Imagine walking into every challenge with a mind that is not hurried, not clouded, not consumed by distraction. Imagine facing pressure with a calm so deep it unsettles the chaos around you. That is the gift of stillness. It cannot be shaken by fear. It cannot be manipulated by noise. It cannot be broken by urgency. It becomes a fortress of clarity, protecting you from the storm and allowing you to move through life with intention. Stillness is not found, it is created. It is a choice to pause when everything pushes you to rush. It is a decision to listen when the world demands you react. It is a commitment to guard your mind as carefully as you guard your body. And each time you choose stillness, the fog clears a little more. Each time you choose stillness, your strength grows deeper. Each time you choose stillness, you step closer to the life you are meant to live. The art of thinking clearly is not about filling the mind with more. It is about freeing the mind to see what is already there. Stillness gives you that freedom. It strips away the noise, the clutter, the urgency, until only truth remains. And when truth stands alone, unclouded and undeniable, you hold the most powerful weapon you will ever need, the calm, unshakable clarity of a still mind. Stillness clears the fog, but clarity sharpens even further when you learn the discipline of simplification. Complexity is seductive. It makes you feel as if more moving parts mean more progress, more information means more certainty, more options mean more freedom. But the truth is, complexity often becomes the greatest enemy of clarity. It drowns your focus, scatters your energy, and tricks you into believing you're advancing when in reality you are only spinning in circles. The human mind craves simplicity. It thrives when it can see the essentials clearly, when it can cut through the noise and grasp the heart of a situation without being buried in the unnecessary. Research shows that decision fatigue rises sharply when too many options are presented. Each extra choice drains energy, and every layer of complexity creates hesitation. But when you simplify, when you strip away what does not matter, the mind grows sharper, lighter, more decisive. What felt overwhelming suddenly becomes manageable. What felt impossible begins to open. Simplicity is not about removing depth, it is about removing distraction. It is about identifying the signal hidden beneath the static and giving it your full attention. Most people carry too much, think too much, hold on to too much. They complicate not only their tasks, but their lives, until clarity has no space to breathe. But when you simplify, you make room for truth. You make space for focus. You create the conditions where clarity can thrive. Think of the relief that comes when you finally let go of what no longer serves you. The unnecessary commitments, the endless overthinking, the clutter that fills your mind and drains your energy. That release is not weakness, it is strength. Because simplification requires courage. It requires you to admit that not everything deserves your time. Not every option deserves your attention. Not every thought deserves your energy. When you choose less, you gain more. More clarity, more strength, more freedom. This principle applies everywhere. Simplify your environment, and your mind grows calmer. Simplify your choices, and your decisions become stronger. Simplify your goals, and your progress accelerates. The power of clarity lies not in adding more layers, but in cutting away until only the essential remains, and the essential is always enough. Simplicity is not about living smaller, it is about living sharper. It is about aligning everything in your life with your highest values and letting the rest fall away. It is about resisting the temptation of distraction, the illusion of complexity, and choosing instead the path that keeps your vision pure. When you do this, you no longer waste energy chasing what doesn't matter. You pour your strength into what truly does. And that is how transformation happens. Not through more, but through less. The art of thinking clearly is the art of simplification. It is the courage to clear away the clutter, the wisdom to recognize what is essential, and the discipline to stay true to it. When you embrace this way of thinking, confusion loses its grip, decisions become lighter, life itself becomes clearer, and what once felt heavy and overwhelming is replaced by a steady, powerful focus that drives you forward with purpose. Clarity is strengthened not only by stillness and simplicity, but by the courage to confront your own biases. The mind does not see the world as it is, it sees the world as it believes it to be. Beliefs, past experiences, fears, and desires act as filters, bending reality into shapes that feel comfortable but are not always true. This distortion is subtle, yet it quietly shapes every decision you make. You may think you are choosing freely, but often you are only repeating patterns that confirm what you already believe. The brain is wired for shortcuts. Psychologists call them cognitive biases, mental habits that save time but distort judgment. You favor information that agrees with your opinion and ignore what challenges it. You overestimate what you understand and underestimate what you do not. You confuse confidence with truth, familiarity with safety, and urgency with importance. These traps are not flaws in your character, they are natural tendencies of the human mind. But clarity requires awareness. Until you recognize these biases, you remain their prisoner. Awareness breaks the illusion. The moment you pause and ask yourself, am I seeing this clearly, or am I seeing what I want to see? You reclaim your power. That question interrupts the automatic cycle. It forces your mind to slow down, to challenge itself, to search for a deeper truth. And in that space of questioning, clarity emerges. What once felt certain reveals cracks. What once felt impossible shows openings. What once felt confusing begins to align. The courage to confront bias is the courage to be wrong. It is the humility to admit that you do not see everything, that your perspective is limited, that truth often lies beyond your first impression. Most people resist this because it feels uncomfortable to let go of certainty, but certainty without truth is a fragile illusion, and when it breaks, it leaves only regret. The stronger path is to face your blind spots now, to challenge your assumptions now, to dismantle the illusions before they dismantle you. Clarity thrives in humility. It grows stronger when you are willing to question, to listen, to learn. Every time you resist the pull of bias, your mind becomes sharper. Every time you break free from illusion, your vision expands. Every time you admit that you may not see the full picture, you step closer to wisdom. This is not weakness, it is strength. Because the person who admits they do not know is the person who is truly ready to learn. The art of thinking clearly is not about always being right. It is about always being willing to seek what is right. It is about refusing to settle for comforting lies, and choosing instead the discipline of truth, no matter how difficult it feels in the moment. When you live this way, your decisions gain weight, your actions carry integrity, your life aligns not with illusion but with reality. And when you walk in reality, your steps are steady, your vision is sharp, and your strength cannot be shaken. To think clearly is to see beyond bias, beyond illusion, beyond the comfortable lies of the mind. It is to embrace the freedom of truth. And in that freedom, you find a clarity so powerful it cannot be clouded, a vision so sharp it cannot be broken, and a strength so deep it transforms not only how you think, but how you live. Focus is the engine of clarity. Without it, knowledge, awareness, and courage are scattered, powerless, diluted by distractions that pull you in every direction. The modern world is designed to fracture your attention. Every notification, every message, every noise in your environment competes for your mind, fragmenting your thinking until decisions feel overwhelming, priorities blur, and purpose fades. Clarity cannot survive in this chaos. It demands your full, undivided attention. The mind is strongest when it concentrates. Neuroscience shows that sustained focus allows the brain to process information deeply, connect ideas, and solve problems with precision. Each moment of distraction erodes this ability. Each shift of attention weakens your cognitive muscles, making simple decisions harder, and complex decisions nearly impossible. But when you deliberately choose focus, when you guard your attention like a precious resource, clarity grows naturally. Your mind becomes a lens, sharpening every detail, revealing connections that were invisible in the noise, exposing truths that were buried beneath the clutter. Focus requires discipline, but it also requires awareness. You must recognize the ways your mind is hijacked by trivialities, by the pull of convenience, by the false sense of urgency that keeps you busy but not productive. Most people confuse motion with progress. They mistake activity for achievement. They allow the urgent to overrule the important, until their decisions reflect distraction rather than intention. Clarity is born when you resist this trap, when you prioritize, when you narrow your attention, when you choose the essential over the trivial, you reclaim your power. This is where courage and focus meet, because to focus is to say no to the endless noise around you. It is to reject distractions that promise satisfaction but deliver chaos. It is to commit fully to what matters most, even when the world is screaming for your attention in 1,000 directions. Each time you do this, you strengthen your mental resilience. Each time you reclaim focus, you deepen clarity. Each time you concentrate on what truly matters, your mind grows sharper, your vision clearer, and your actions more effective. Focus is not about doing more, it is about seeing more. It is about filtering out what is irrelevant so that what remains can be fully understood, fully acted upon, and fully mastered. Every distraction you resist, every fragment of attention you reclaim, every choice to stay present strengthens your thinking, amplifies your insight, and sharpens your judgment. The clarity that comes from focus is not fleeting. It becomes a steady, unwavering force that guides your decisions, shapes your path, and propels you toward your highest potential. The art of thinking clearly is inseparable from the art of focus. One cannot exist without the other. Without focus, your mind drifts. Without clarity, your focus is aimless. But when focus and clarity unite, they create a force that is unstoppable. Decisions are made with confidence. Challenges are faced with precision. Opportunities are recognized before they pass. Life itself begins to unfold with a rhythm that matches your vision, a flow that aligns with your purpose, and a power that cannot be shaken. When you commit to focus, you claim your mind. You reclaim your time. You sharpen your vision. And in this discipline, clarity is no longer an occasional gift. It becomes your natural state, your default mode, and the foundation upon which every success, every decision, and every transformation is built. Discipline is the bridge between knowing and doing. Knowing the truth is not enough if your actions remain inconsistent, if your habits remain uncontrolled, if your mind wanders at the first sign of discomfort. Clarity demands more than insight. It demands the relentless practice of aligning thought with action, intention with execution, and awareness with choice. Without discipline, clarity is a fragile illusion, easily shattered by impulse, procrastination, or fleeting emotion. Every great decision, every breakthrough, every moment of profound understanding is reinforced by consistent action. The mind thrives on structure. Research in behavioral psychology shows that habits shape neural pathways, creating patterns that either support or sabotage clarity. Discipline does not restrict you. It frees you. It creates the conditions for your mind to operate at full strength, reducing the chaos of indecision, simplifying choices, and building a predictable framework where clarity can flourish. Discipline is not about harsh rigidity or endless willpower. It is about deliberate alignment. It is the daily commitment to choose what strengthens your thinking, even when it is uncomfortable, inconvenient, or invisible to others. Every small act of consistency compounds. Every decision to prioritize substance over distraction, depth over superficiality, courage over fear, builds a mental environment where clarity becomes inevitable. Over time, these choices create a momentum that no external force can easily derail. The true power of discipline is revealed in moments of resistance. When the mind protests, when comfort tempts, when shortcuts lure, discipline is the hand that steadies you, the force that holds you to your principles, and the shield that guards your clarity. Without it, the mind reverts to its default patterns, reactive, scattered, and prone to error. With it, the mind rises above the noise, the impulse, and the illusion, creating decisions that are intentional, precise, and rooted in truth. Discipline also sharpens awareness. When you commit to consistent mental habits, reflection, and examination, you begin to notice patterns in your thinking that were previously invisible. You recognize the triggers that lead to distraction, the thoughts that fuel doubt, the habits that erode insight. And with this recognition comes choice, the power to adjust, refine, and redirect your mind toward greater clarity. Every disciplined action reinforces understanding. Every structured moment deepens insight. Every deliberate choice strengthens your ability to think clearly. The connection between discipline and clarity is profound. One cannot thrive without the other. Discipline creates the space for clarity to emerge, and clarity provides the guidance for disciplined action. Together, they form a cycle that transforms thought into reality, intention into achievement, and potential into mastery. Every decision you make under this union is more precise, more confident, and more aligned with your true purpose. When you embrace discipline, you stop drifting. You stop reacting. You stop letting impulses dictate your path. You start commanding your mind, your focus, and your life. Discipline does not promise comfort, but it promises transformation. It does not guarantee an easy journey, but it ensures a clear one. And in that clarity, built through relentless intentional action, you find the power to shape your reality, the courage to pursue your highest aspirations, and the freedom to live with unwavering purpose. Your emotions are not enemies, they are signals. Yet most people allow them to dictate their thinking, letting fear, anger, or doubt cloud judgment and distort reality. Clarity is born when you recognize that emotions are information, not commands. Each surge of anxiety or wave of frustration is an invitation to pause, observe, and decide consciously rather than react unconsciously. The power to think clearly lies in mastering this delicate balance, acknowledging emotion without surrendering to it, feeling fully without losing control, and using emotional energy as fuel rather than letting it derail your decisions. Neuroscience shows that emotional regulation strengthens the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for rational thinking, problem solving, and long-term planning. When you manage your emotions effectively, your mind becomes a stable platform for insight. Each moment of self-control, each pause before reacting, each deliberate choice to engage with thought rather than impulse, rewires your brain to operate with precision. Over time, this practice transforms chaos into order, confusion into understanding, and turbulence into clarity. Understanding your emotions requires honesty. You must confront the discomfort that comes with self-reflection and recognize the biases, assumptions, and fears that influence your thinking. Many avoid this work because it is uncomfortable. They settle for reactive thinking, excuses, and illusions of control. But true clarity demands courage. The courage to face your inner truth without judgment, to dissect your reactions, and to identify patterns that weaken your judgment. The mind that is willing to examine itself gains an unmatched advantage. It sees beyond surface appearances. It anticipates outcomes. It navigates complexity with confidence. Emotional mastery is not suppression, it is transformation. It is learning to channel intensity into focus, turning anxiety into vigilance, frustration into persistence, and doubt into discernment. Each emotion carries a signal about what matters to you, about where your attention is drawn, and about the potential obstacles ahead. By interpreting these signals accurately and responding intentionally, you convert potential derailments into tools for growth. The more skillfully you harness emotional energy, the more clarity you can sustain, and the more empowered your decisions become. Emotions also deepen connection with yourself and with reality. When you honor your feelings without letting them override reason, you develop empathy, insight, and awareness. You begin to recognize not just your own triggers, but the dynamics of situations, people, and challenges around you. This awareness enhances judgment, guiding you to make choices that are not only rational but resonant with truth. Clear thinking is inseparable from emotional awareness, because insight without sensitivity is blind, and control without understanding is brittle. Clarity emerges when intellect and emotion are integrated. The mind that thinks clearly is neither cold nor detached. It is alive, aware, and engaged. It navigates the world with precision, guided by both rational analysis and emotional intelligence. Each decision becomes deliberate, each action purposeful, and each response measured. The ability to regulate emotion transforms confusion into confidence, hesitation into decisiveness, and overwhelm into calm. When you embrace emotional mastery, you stop being a passenger in your own mind. You stop reacting to every impulse, every fear, and every fleeting desire. You take the wheel. You create the space for rational insight to flourish, for disciplined action to thrive, and for focus to sharpen. In this union of intellect and emotion, clarity is no longer fragile. It becomes resilient, steady, and unshakable, guiding every choice, shaping every outcome, and illuminating the path to your highest potential. Your thoughts are the architects of your reality. Each idea you allow to settle in your mind shapes the way you perceive the world and guides the choices you make. Yet, most people let their thoughts run unchecked, like unruly currents in a stormy sea. Every fleeting worry, every doubt, every negative assumption has the power to steer decisions, erode confidence, and cloud judgment. Clear thinking begins with awareness. Begins when you notice the patterns of your mind, when you refuse to be a passive observer of your own mental landscape, and when you take responsibility for the direction your thoughts are heading. Every moment spent reacting to irrelevant fears or outdated beliefs is a moment lost. Your mind is not a mirror to reflect chaos, it is a tool to craft clarity. Neuroscience confirms that neurons strengthen with repeated use. Habits of thought that are negative, scattered, or anxious become deeply ingrained, shaping perception and decision-making. Conversely, habits of reflection, focus, and disciplined evaluation build neural pathways that promote clarity, insight, and precision. This is why thinking clearly is not an abstract skill. It is a practice, a muscle, a choice. Every thought you question, every assumption you challenge, every mental shortcut you avoid strengthens your capacity to see reality as it truly is. The danger lies in automatic thinking. Most minds operate on autopilot, recycling fears, biases, and assumptions that were never questioned. These automatic patterns limit vision, distort priorities, and trap potential. Clear thinking requires courage, the courage to question what everyone else accepts, the courage to confront uncomfortable truths about yourself, and the courage to let go of what does not serve your purpose. It demands vigilance, a constant readiness to pause, examine, and evaluate each impulse before it dictates action. This vigilance is not burdensome. It is liberating. Each conscious decision expands your freedom. Each examined thought strengthens control over your destiny. Clarity also requires simplicity. The human mind is powerful, yet easily overwhelmed by excess. Complexity can hide truth, distract attention, and slow decision-making. The practice of clear thinking is not to fill your mind with more information, but to distill it, to identify what is essential, and to discard what is irrelevant. It is the art of separating signal from noise. Every moment spent decluttering your mind, every effort to focus on what truly matters, cultivates insight.